Good morning, YouTube, and welcome back to the channel. It is Friday, May 8th, and that brings us to week 2 of our garden tours for the 2026 growing season. I am just sitting here watching the beautiful sunrise, and it is still a little dark out, so we're gonna wait a little bit, but then I'm gonna show you, I've been really hard at work this week getting things ready. And so a lot has changed since the last garden tour, and I'm really excited to walk around with you and show you what's going on. All right, I think it is light enough outside that we can get started. And if you saw my last video, you knew that I spent a lot of time cleaning this first section up this week. I weeded, my son helped me, and I put a lot of straw mulch down. In my last few videos, you saw a few rows. I had 3 rows down the middle of the garden of straw bales. Those straw bales had been sitting here for over a year. I grew some things in them last year. I used them a little bit to mulch a few things last year, but otherwise they were just kind of sitting there. The idea was when I build my raised beds this fall for this area, I was going to use those to fill. But they were decomposing at such a quick rate that I was like, let's just go ahead and mulch with them. It'll help me a little bit with the weed control this year. And so that's what I spent pretty much all week doing, working around the rain to get that done. And I'm really pleased with how it is looking. So let me flip the camera around and show you the progress we've made. Okay, so like I said, I made a boo-boo and messed up a bag of seeds. So I seeded some cabbage in that area. I don't know if it'll come up or not, but I just wanted to try and hopefully not waste that seed. And then these 2 trellises, that kind of same thing happened. So the bag of sweet peas went on this trellis, and a bag of cucumber seeds went on this trellis. I haven't seen anything germinating yet, so it may or may not work. They may have been ruined when I got the seed packets wet, but only time will tell there. But I spent a lot of time mulching the perimeter area, and I bought a few perennials at the garden centers. And so I just kind of wanted to show you what that area is looking like. I'm gonna zoom in because I know it's hard to see, especially with the lighting early in the morning. But I got some salvia to add in. I got a Red Riding Hood penstemon. I got a couple of different colorations of coneflower that I don't have. This one is a yellow. And then I have another one over here that is like a sunset color scheme. And then I just got a few different things. I also got some lantana and some celosia. I really like adding in a few annuals in this perennial bed just for a pop of color. It's going to take a few years for this perennial perimeter garden to really take shape. You know, they say the first year is a sleep year, the second year is a creep year, and then the third year is a leap. So we're on year 2. So things have not really started coming out in their fullest yet. And I'm noticing it's raining. The story of my life for this year. We cannot seem to stop with the rain. But the garden tour will continue because it's only sprinkling. So I will try to get this done. Hopefully it doesn't start downpouring on me. This perimeter garden is gonna really start taking shape over about the next 12 to 24 months. And it's just going to be really full. Now, eventually I plan to extend it all the way around. But as you know, perennials are very expensive. A lot of them I start from seed to save on money. But it's going to take some time. And I think that the best gardens are done slowly over time. Sure, you could go out if you had the money and the resources and just buy everything and put it all in, and it would be beautiful. But I've changed my mind so many times already in the 3 years that I've lived here that I kind of like doing it slowly, piece by piece, because then as I have more ideas and different things spark my creativity, I can just implement and change things as needed. and I haven't already wasted a bunch of money or invested in things that maybe I didn't need to. So I like to take my time with things, and also I kind of have to take my time with things because we're not rich, so we're just kind of doing it as we can. My husband and I joke, one of our most commonly said things in our house is, as time and money allows, because yeah, as time and money allows is basically how we approach every aspect of our life. I'm not gonna walk down there, but you can see my cabbages and broccoli are doing okay. Really, we need some warmer temperatures. And my son helped me do quite a bit of weeding. The holes that still have grass are just holes that we haven't put anything in yet. And so I did not weed those yet. I'll do that as time allows over the next few days. But this area is really gonna start coming to life. I do have some green beans and some kohlrabi that have started germinating. So probably within the next 2 weeks, this area is gonna look really full. In my last garden tour, I showed you the onions that we had just recently transplanted, and they were looking really pathetic because onions are pretty dramatic. But they have really come back to life just like I thought they would, and especially the leeks. The leeks are doing fantastic. So this is red onion and leeks. And this is our bed of white onions. These are Patterson onions. I guess they're more of a yellow onion. But that's all Patterson onions. And then of course we have the garlic bed, and then my little hodgepodge bed. I just put a few seeds of some different cabbages in here, Brussels sprouts, and they're starting to germinate. All of the rain that we have had has really done a number on the placement of the seeds. So like in this little area, I'm gonna have to thin those Napa cabbages out, but I just haven't made it there yet. Back here we have some carrots and beets and radish, and it's all starting to do pretty well. I'll probably have to do some thinning here as well. And let's just take a moment for these beautiful peonies. These peony plants have been here for many, 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 many years. These were Kyle's grandmother's, and they are just stunning. This is kind of my favorite time of year when all of the peonies are in bloom around the farm. Wanted to show you the garden shed really quick. I have a little bit of white primer paint left, and I need to finish priming it. And then this week I went to Home Depot and I bought the paint for it. So it's going to be turned into a really pretty blue color. Probably not before I go on vacation. That would be a pretty lofty goal, but I would love to get that painted sometime this summer. I have not yet painted, I have not yet planted the arch trellis. I plan to do that this afternoon. So if it doesn't end up raining on me, that's my plan for today. And with some of my mulching, I put some straw over here because I seeded some marigolds and they're starting to come up here, and then some sunflowers. And I just want to mulch that in really nicely to help with the grass control. And I also have not planted any of my peppers, okra, or tomatoes that will go in this area. It's just not quite time for that. So I'll clean up this area over the course of about the next week. And then once it's all cleaned up, then I will be planting this area out. And of course, I'll bring you along for that. But I do want to show you, I had started last year down on this end, just a small section of that perennial perimeter. And so we have some hyssop, some coneflower, some false indigo, some more hyssop. And these were all started plants that were given to me by my mom's best friend. And they are just lovely. I love the false indigo. So this is really starting to look good. And by next year, this is going to be really full and pretty. So very excited about that. It will eventually extend to the corner and down this side. But like I said, I'm just kind of doing things as time and money allow. Now, I'm not going to take you into the pasture garden because literally nothing has changed in there since the last garden tour. I have not even had time to step foot in there. So our potatoes are planted there, but that's about it. But one thing that I do want to show you that I realized I failed to show you in the last garden tour is my blackberries and raspberries. I have just a few of them. They were gifted to me from my mother-in-law, And I just kind of threw them in at this northeast corner of my garden because I had no idea where I was going to put all of my berries. And so I just wanted to protect them and keep them alive. So I threw them in here, but eventually they're going to go out into the pasture garden where my gooseberries are, where the strawberries will eventually be, and the blueberries that are currently up by the house so that I don't neglect them. Everything's going to get moved out into a berry patch out there. We also have a few grapevines that we are going to put out there as well. So eventually the pasture will house all of our berries, but for right now I'm going to show you where they are tucked in and surviving, but maybe not thriving. So here they are, and we do have some in bloom. I did harvest just a handful of blackberries last year off of these canes. Not a whole lot, but enough for snacking, and they were really delicious. Now, once I get all of my berries put out into the pasture, I will have some trellising, and I will do things a little bit more properly. I didn't get rid of any of the canes from last year. I know you're supposed to cut those back, but I just didn't do that, and I'll do that when we end up moving everything. But that's where some of my berries are for right now, and a giant pokeweed, a couple of them, that I need to get moved out. Once we get the berry patch established out in the pasture, I plan to add more blackberries and raspberries. You can just take some of the canes from what you currently have and produce more. But the berries, to be perfectly honest, are not my priority right now. It's really difficult when you have everything going on, and I'm the gardener. My husband is not a gardener. He's a farmer. He does the farming, and I do the homesteading. I do the gardening, the cooking, the food preservation. I handle all of that pretty much on my own. He will help me occasionally when he has time, but he just truly doesn't have a lot of time to be able to help me. So I kind of have to consider it I'm on my own and try to keep things manageable. I'm not very good at doing that. I always overextend myself, but that's part of the reason that the berries are so neglected is I just don't have the time or the energy or the resources to get that taken care of just yet. And the reason that I cut back so much on my gardening and why most of this has been returned to grass is because I was overextending myself. It was just too much to manage. I put my CSA down and I'm no longer doing that. And I'm really just truly stepping back and making this garden a more enjoyable space and not just a production space. It's going to be more of a sanctuary. And so things are changing quite a bit. And I'm really proud of myself for stepping back because that's not something I'm good at. I'm not good at saying, I can't handle all of that. I need to tone it down. Usually I'm like, nope, let's do more. Let's add one more thing. Why can't we do this too? But motherhood has really humbled me, and I would rather do a good job of being a mom than overextend myself and be stressed out and frazzled all the time. And so I'm trying really, really hard to scale it back to a more manageable level. And I think I've done that this year. The garden will always get to a point at some point in the season where you're like pulling your hair out because it's a lot of work. But I think with what I've done as far as scaling back, this year is going to be a lot more manageable and much more enjoyable. It already is. So I'm really happy with that. I do want to mention, I'm still doing a few cut flowers, not very many, but I like to have bouquets on my kitchen table. And if I have a few extra to sell or give away, I will. But I'm primarily focusing on sunflowers and zinnias, and I'll be adding just a few more rows here over the next few days. So that brings me to our cottage garden. I'm heading over there right now. It's a very small start to a big vision that I have in my head. So it might not look very good to you. It might not look cohesive or make much sense to you when I flip this camera around and show you. And part of that is because the grass is growing back up. It's been about a week since we were able to mow, and I don't have borders, I don't have walkways, I don't have any of that yet. So it is kind of hard to see unless you can see what's in here. But I'm gonna flip the camera around and I'm gonna show you what I've been working on. And it's obviously a work in progress, but it is starting to come together. And it is starting to pick up with the rain, so hopefully we'll be able to finish this. But I've got just a little L section here, L-shaped section is what I'm trying to say, and a much smaller L-shaped section right here that I've been working on mulching. I have a reblooming Weigela, I have some coneflower, I forget exactly, this one you can't hardly even see, but I forget exactly what that is. I'd have to look at the tag. And then over here, which I've not finished mulching either, I have, and the grass is really trying to take over, but I have some stone crop sedum here. I have a hydrangea there. That's a limelight. I have a rose of Sharon. I forget what this one was. And then I have some yarrow and another stone crop. So eventually this cottage garden space is going to be kind of like a border with a winding stone pathway down the middle. And then over here, right behind me, is going to be the fire pit area, which I've talked a lot about. I'm not going to spend any time on it during this garden tour, just because nothing has changed. It's going to be a while before I can afford to put the stone down and do all of that. But we've set it up with what we have and we're making do for right now. And we've enjoyed some fires and it's working. So it may not be the most aesthetically pleasing area, but it's an area that my family can hang out. So that makes me happy. And I wanted to show you my son's garden. You watched us plant this together and he decided he wanted flowers too. So I had to go get one of my other planters and I gave him that and he picked out a couple of different flowers at the garden center. He wanted the pink and purple petunias. So we got that there. And just last night when we were out here checking on things, nothing had germinated yet. But as you can see, some of his lettuce is coming up and some of his zinnias are coming up back there. So he is going to wake up and be thrilled that his garden is starting to come to life. Let's head on up to the patio and I'll show you a few planters that I put together with some of the flowers that we got at the garden center, as well as the first green stalk that we planted. Ignore some of the mess. I haven't finished cleaning up yet, but in these 3 white raised beds are blueberries. They're just kind of hanging out until I can get that pasture area established, but this way I won't forget that they exist. And then over here I have just a few things. When I worked at the garden center a few summers ago, I fell in love with this. It's called spurge and it just looks like little fairy lights. It's so dainty and delicate and I love it in a container, especially with these little calibrachoas. I just think it looks so pretty. And then geraniums are always one of my favorite. So I put just a couple. I didn't spend a lot of money on flowers this year because everything is so expensive, but I do like just a little pop of color right as you walk through the door to our little farm store. And then this is that first green stalk. I have really got to get in here and thin some of this kale out, but we have spinach, we have Swiss chard, we have some lettuces coming up, and it is really starting to look pretty good. I do have a couple of cells down here that didn't germinate, and I'll probably pop something in there at some point, but I've got enough going right now. I don't think I need to worry about it at this moment. And then over here, I have dill. And you'll notice in addition to this pot since last week, I had to add something to keep my dog from laying in it. He likes to lay in these planters. So I added a little pig there that would poke him if he laid in. And then I added a little birdhouse here, and that seems to be working to keep him out. This is just some basil, rosemary, thyme, and chives. And then this one here in the middle is cilantro. This blue one will eventually be lemon mint, but I haven't planted that out yet. He looks so sweet and innocent, but boy, he can be a pain in the tushy sometimes. But we love him. So this area here is just right at the driveway. So like here's our driveway. And it's also on the walkway to our farm store. That is our farm store right there. And I bought this little metal rooster at the garden center that I used to work at, but I bought it last year. I haven't worked there in several years, but I got this little rooster and I thought he was so cute. I put him right here at the driveway with a couple of antique cans there. And this year I popped in a little bit of lantana. I love lantana. I just think it's so beautiful. And then I popped in a coneflower here as well. That's our asparagus. We call this little section of asparagus our bird dropping asparagus because we didn't plant it there, the birds did. But it's actually some of the best asparagus on our property. So we leave it, we enjoy it, we pick it. Asparagus is pretty much done for this year. So I went ahead and just mulched it, but we do let it grow up into the fronds. And then this right here is my gigantic fennel. I leave this for the black swallowtail butterflies. And I have some milkweed that I started from seed that I plan to put there for our monarchs. Last year was the first year that we raised some butterflies or tried to raise some butterflies. My mom's best friend is really good at it and she gave me some tips and tricks and got me kind of started on it. And then my best friend is also pretty into it. And so she let me borrow a butterfly cage. And we tried and we tried and we had such bad luck. We ended up having 3 chrysalis. One just died of its own causes. Died because I left the butterfly cage outside and it got blown over. So then I brought the butterfly cage inside because I was like, okay, obviously it's too windy here for that. And I brought it inside and I have 2 small children in the house and so it just didn't work out. We may try it again this year. I don't know. I might wait until my kids are a little bit older because it made me really sad that none of them made it. And as we start to wrap up the garden tour, I wanted to show you the yellow green stalk that we just planted right before the last garden tour. So it's been about a week and some of the cells have not germinated yet, but some of them are just starting to. That's a pea. You can see a sweet pea there. And then if I go down here, that's some lettuce, black-seeded Simpson. And then down here, we have some cabbages starting. So it's starting to take off. And probably by next week, I'll have more to show you there. There he is. Our faithful companion, always watching. And then this is the west side of our house. That's our living room, and this is our sun porch. I have a little bit of potting mix left over that I'm gonna put down here and try to get some hollyhocks and zinnias to seed along this west wall here. This is a tropical that I overwintered and is looking very rough. It needs some sunshine and warmer weather, but it'll pull through. It'll be all right. This is a mess. I have a lot of messes I need to clean up. This chair just did not hold up out here. I thought it would be really cute. I painted it. I tried to cover it as much as possible, but it's just not gonna work. So I may be able to re-glue it, repaint it, and use it somewhere else, but it's just not gonna be a good outdoor chair. And then I have this little plant stand that eventually I'll have a few more things put on. Over here, I have a hibiscus that was my mom's. She had it around her pool last year and I overwintered it and I put some baby sunrose in here. Baby sunrose is one of my favorites. When it's in bloom, I'll show you. But it's got these really delicate little pink flowers on it and this will just kind of fill this whole space and spill out. I might put a few things back here. I have not decided yet. If I do, it would probably be zinnias or something tall to be a backdrop for this hibiscus. And over here, my dog has dug out yet another hole in one of my garden spaces, which is really frustrating, but he lives here too, so I'm trying not to be too irritated. This is a red peony. It's the only red peony on the entire property. Everything else is pink or white. And I purchased this before Kyle and I got married, and I dug it up and I moved it with me when we moved over here. And this is the first year that it has bloomed, and it is just stunning. And then I've got a big autumn sedum over here, a little antique bike. Eventually this will get moved out. I don't like how close things are to the house. It needs to get moved out a little bit. And this area will get transformed into another garden space as well. Almost forgot to mention my endless summer hydrangea is coming back. But like I said, time and money. So eventually this area will look dramatically different. But I wanted to pop in a few bits of color And then this fall we will work on transforming this space together. I've got just one more area I wanted to show you guys, and that's because we had to cut down a tree. It's right over here by our pasture. It was an ash tree, and a lot of the ash trees on this property became subject to the ash borer, and they didn't make it. And this tree started dying the year before last. Last year we were like, oh, it's really, really dying. And this year it was dead. So Kyle cut it down, and eventually we'll have to get that stump out and we'll have to clean the rest of this up. But eventually this is going to be the location for our new farm store. We will be building a shed here, and it will be, if it makes sense, this is our driveway and that's the road. And so it's just right here. It's easier for our customers to find. As it is right now, they pull in the driveway and they go all the way up and they have to circle around behind the house to find the farm store. And it's been a little challenging. And also keeping it over here makes it to where people aren't just wandering the property. I do have kids out playing. And so I just want to keep the business just a little bit more separate than it is. So we're going to put the farm store right here. And so I wanted to just kind of show you that area now. I probably won't talk about it again at all this summer until we build the farm store. So I just wanted to kind of show you what we're starting with. But one thing that I do have here, and it's not doing well since cutting down the tree, it kind of disturbed it, but that's okay. I've got hyacinth bean vine in 3 different spots, and the plan is to grow that up this trellis. So if that works, it'll end up being really pretty, but we'll just have to see. One last thing I wanted to mention. We hate taking trees out. In fact, one of our goals was to put more trees in. We put 4 fruit trees in this year and a magnolia tree, and where that ash tree was, we had to take it down because of the situation. It was dead and we need to put a building there. But down here are our 2 grapevines that I talked about earlier. We're going to be moving those out to the pasture, and we plan to put a sycamore tree in down there. Have a nice big tree, shade tree, pretty fast growing tree. So where we are taking trees out, we are replacing them. And we have plans for a few other trees around the property as well. So I just wanted to mention that because I know the importance of trees, and we love trees. We're not out here to just cut down all the trees. And the little magnolia tree that we planted this year is doing really, really well. I'm super excited to see it when it grows up. That's going to be a wrap on this week's garden tour. I am so happy with how everything is starting to look in the garden, and I hope that you guys are having a great season so far. Thank you so much for watching and spending time with me. I really appreciate you being here. Thank you again, and we'll catch you in the next video. Have a great weekend.